You have a creature base of Chandra's Phoenix, Gutter Snipe, Young Pyromancer, and Oracle Bones, and Satyr Fire Dancer. So all the creatures that say play with burn spells are all up here in the stack, alongside Lightning Strike, Magma Jet, Searing Blood, Shock, Skullcrack, some Mountains, and some Mutavaults. So this is a devoted burn strategy.
Rietzl going to play a Swamp. He's going to play a Thoughtseize. He wants to know what he's up against. He's going to find out right now. It's a lot of red cards. You see 3 Mountains, a Lightning Strike, a Young Pyromancer. And it looks like maybe an Oracle of Bones. Can't quite make out that card in the middle right now.
I believe that's a Searing Blood.
Okay, you would know better than me.
Yeah, I have an eye for that one.
Yes, you do. So you see Rietzl's going to write these cards down. He's going to go down to 18, figure out what to take here. And I think he's got a pretty good idea now of what he's up against. And one of the more important cards in his deck is Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which he does have 4 copies of. Some people have moved away from that card, but he's got the 4 in his main deck.
Yeah, I actually was in Paul and Sperling's room last night watching them do the last finishing touches on their Mono Black Devotion list. Paul, very experienced with this archetype.
And there is a Mountain and a Young Pyromancer off the top here from Ryan. So Thoughtseize takes one away, and Ryan says, well, I drew one, so too bad. As Rietzl will draw a copy of Grey Merchant. You see his hand right now. He's got a Nightveil Spectre. He has a Desecration Demon. The one thing I don't think he has right now is a removal spell for that Young Pyromancer. Now, Paul's removal suite, he does have 4 copies of Hero's Downfall. That's not really much of a surprise. He has 3 copies of Bile Blight and then 1 Ultimate Price and 1 Devour Flesh.
Yeah, he didn't want to move away from the Edict of Effect entirely because there is the Naya Hexproof deck that's rolling around, but the diversity in the removal base definitely a concession to how wide open the format is right now.
See, Paul's got a Pack Rat in his hand as well. Another land there. Does have the Nightveil Spectre, which he could deploy right now. It would die to a Lightning Strike and would give Ryan an Elemental token.
Yeah, he certainly cannot cast the Pack Rat for the time being because he doesn't want to run that into a Searing Blood. That is a disaster. But he has to do something here, and so he'll play the Nightveil Spectre.
There's the strike. And will Ryan remember to get the token is the question. I'm not sure if he did or not.
Yeah, I don't know if we're waiting for a token or what.
So there is a Mountain. And here's an attacker too, so it definitely feels like to me that he forgot to make the token with the Young Pyromancer, as he does just come across for 2. Rietzl will untap at 14 life and draw a card.
And it's especially bad for Ryan to miss that trigger because Desecration Demon is one of the best tools that Paul has in the matchup, and Young Pyromancer are a pretty good way of diminishing its power.
See if Paul wants to deploy the 6/6 or not. And he says yes to do. So there is Desecration Demon. Pass the turn back over to Ryan. Ryan's going to untap Young Pyromancer. He'll take a draw. We'll see what he finds. Looks like another land. It's a Mutavault, so it's more than a land. But he has drawn quite a few lands after that Thoughtseize. He just does have that Searing Blood in his hand, and then 2 Mountains. Just pass the turn back.
Yeah, flooding out is so bad for the burn deck, and this is why you traditionally see these decks play a lot of Scry lands.
Yeah. There are only 21 lands in Ryan's deck, but that does mean that you can still flood out even though you have 21.
Yeah, and you also have to make your land drops as well because you're going all the way up to cards like Oracle of Bones. So drawing not too many and not too few lands pretty challenging in a deck that has no way to scry.
Rietzl's going to attack with 1 Desecration Demon, and then he will play another. And all of a sudden, Ryan is on the back foot, which that's kind of what Desecration Demon does. That thing is absolutely huge and can end a game very quickly as Ryan will draw a card for the turn. He's going to play a Mountain. And again, he's got that Searing Blood. He did draw a spell this turn. I believe actually this time it was Oracle of Bones.
Yeah, it does look like it. Oracle of Bones probably gets my vote for most fun design in all of Born of Gods. It is a really fun guessing game, I think, to play, and I think it's a really sweet design.
And there is the Oracle. So Tribute will be on. You see Paul's going to take a look at it. We'll do the same. 3/1 haste for 4 mana. Tribute 2. It will get 2+1/+1 counters on it if the opponent chooses to let it do that. If the tribute wasn't paid, you can cast an instant sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. See, a lot of people use this in combination with Toil Trouble, as you can fuse it off of Oracle of Bones if they do not pay the tribute. Right now for Ryan, unfortunately, all he has in his hand is a Searing Blood.
Yeah, and because Paul has 2 6/6s in play, I think he doesn't care too much about this potentially becoming a 5/3, although he still has to worry about the total amount of range that Ryan has access to in his deck.
Yeah. And it looks like, okay, you can have a spell for free, which is Searing Blood, which does not do very much right now. We'll make a token to be able to try to slow down one of these copies of Desecration Demon, but that's really about it. You see both triggers of the Desecration Demon will go on the stack here. Says that's fine, as Paul's going to untap. Again, he does have a Pack Rat in his hand, has a Grey Merchant, does draw the 5th land to be able to cast Grey Merchant, of which he has 2 copies in his hand right now. So Demon triggers will go on the stack. You're going to see Chris Van Meter bite the dust to 1. Counter's going to go on to that Desecration Demon.
And we talked earlier in the broadcast about Night Veil Spectre versus Lightbane Zombie appearing in these decks. This matchup is a really strong, this is a place where Night Veil Spectre is very good, even though it doesn't look like it on the surface. 3 toughness is so valuable against a beatdown deck, especially one that's playing Searing Blood.
Rietzl going to cast Grey Merchant of Asphodel post-combat, a draining gain for 6, and Ryan Lay is going to concede the game. So, Pro Tour Amsterdam champion Paul Rietzl up a game here with Mono Black Devotion over Ryan Lay playing Mono Red Burn.
Yeah, I have my experience playing both Burn and Mono Red aggressive strategies. Ryan's deck kind of a mixture of the two. The games where they have a turn 4 Desecration Demon are really hard. Often you get hung up on Grey Merchant, but in my opinion, the fight is often over Desecration Demon. Grey Merchant can pull them out of games they were otherwise losing, but usually when Grey Merchant is powerful, you are in trouble anyway. Desecration Demon is where a lot of the power in the deck comes from.
We're going to take a look at Ryan's sideboard to begin things, and since you are the Mono Red Maestro here in the booth, I'll let you take that away.
Well, we got a Burning Earth. We got 4 copies of Burning Earth, 4 copies of Mind Sparker, 3 copies of Ratchet Bomb, and 4 copies of Toil and Trouble. I would expect Toil and Trouble to come in as Paul's deck, not the most efficient about getting cards out of its hand. Also, they have Underworld connections as well. I traditionally like Toil and Trouble a lot more against Mono Black Devotion when you can just full-blow bail on all of your creatures and play just a burn strategy, because they will often be rotting with removal spells in their hand. So Toil and Trouble is very good in that world. If I was in Ryan's seat, I would probably remove Satyr Fire Dancer from the deck. Paul's creatures are just too big for that kind of thing.
Taking a look at Paul's side here as he is up a game, sideboarding pretty quickly on his side, actually. Looks like he really knows what he wants to do. 4 copies of Duress, 2 Dark Betrayal, 2 Lifebane Zombie, 2 copies of Pharika's Cure, 3 Doom Blades and Underworld Connections, and a Drown in Sorrow. Pharika's Cure is certainly going to join us. Some number of these Duresses will probably join us as well. I'm not sure if it's going to be the full 4 or not. And then Drown in Sorrow looked like it did have some nice targets out there. Oracle of Bones, Young Pyromancer. You can assume that Chandra's Phoenix is probably hanging around here as well. And then, Pharika's Cure is just the big old duh. That's coming in. So.
I think you're going to see all 4 Duresses come in too. I think, anytime you can attack these sort of red decks 1 for 1, it just sets up a path for Desecration Demon to win the game outright.
Sure.
So I would expect those to come in as well.
I think a big reason, that mono red decks and white red and these aggressive strategies are actually cropping up is because mono black has actually moved away from Pharika's Cure. Turtenwald having, some of those in the main deck for a while of his mono black deck, and then, having the additional ones in the sideboard, for example. Now you see people moving away from that for Bile Blight and there are other matchups, obviously. But Pharika's Cure kind of being gone means that mono red can kind of pick up a little bit now, but if Pharika's Cure comes back, you're going to see those red decks go away.
Yeah, Pharika's Cure and Drown in Sorrow are really rough to play against. There was a while there where the Black Devotion list, I think you would see 0 copies of both cards across the 75. That's clearly very good for aggressive red strategies, but I think as a concession to the burn deck that was actually playing Ash Zealot and Chandra's Phoenix, alongside Mutavault, things that you can target with Pharika's Cure, and just sort of aggressive decks in general having an uptick. I think you're going to start seeing more copies of those cards in mono black sideboards.
And as these players do finish shuffling up here for game number 2, we want to thank you guys for joining us here early this morning. I guess it's early on the West Coast, not so early on the East Coast here. But
we're solidly in the afternoon at this
point. Are we in the afternoon? Wow, it is after 12. I had no idea. Maybe it just feels early. I'm not quite sure.
Good afternoon, America.
Yeah. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Los Angeles at SCG Live. Hashtag SCGLA for your tweets as we are in Los Angeles, and this is the last weekend before Season 1 concludes with the Invitational in Charlotte. A very, very, very big weekend next weekend as 2 players will qualify for the Players' Championship at Roanoke at the end of the year.
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm really excited about it. I'm actually getting on, I got a lot of friends out in Charlotte. I really enjoy the city. I'm getting on a plane 7 a.m. Monday morning from Los Angeles.
Okay.
Landing in Charlotte 7 in the evening, East Coast time.
My God, that's a long flight.
There's a 3-hour layover.
Okay.
It's not great. But I'm going to be spending some time in Charlotte, and I'm just really excited about the week that's coming up.
Charlotte is a great city.
Yeah.
I haven't been there for a while, actually. I mean, we were in Richmond, obviously, for the Grand Prix. But Richmond and Charlotte are 2 very different cities, and I can't wait to go back to Charlotte. I know that in college, when I went to school at Purdue, I always had to fly to Charlotte and then to X, wherever I was going. And so I spent a lot of time actually in Charlotte Airport. But it's been a couple of years since I've actually been there for a tournament.
For my experience, Charlotte is pretty much the ideal mixture of the North and the South. It is, the convenience of the North and the friendliness of the South. We've talked about that hypothetical,
Yeah.
you know. I think Charlotte embodies that better than any American city.
See, both players going to take a look at their opening hands. Again, Ryan Lay on the left will be on the play. Looks like he's going to keep, as will Paul, just a mountain and a passing the turn back.
And with Ryan's deck, if I were to do any quick change to this, because of how powerful Scrying is, and because he has Toil and Trouble in the deck already, I would definitely put 4 copies of Temple of Malice. That would be my first start.
A stated fired answer here for Ryan, the powerful 1/1 from Born of the Gods. See if Rietzl has anything to do on his second turn or not. You know, Brad Nelson really trying to work this into a deck a little bit earlier in the season. You see Ryan's going to play a land, attack for 1 with the Fire Dancer. That's going to bite the dust to a Pharikis Cure.
Paul has definitely come ready for this matchup. I don't know if, exactly something built like Ryan's deck, but Pharikis Cure and Drown in Sorrow, 2 excellent tools.
Here's a second Fire Dancer here from Ryan as he does pass the turn back over to the Pro Tour Amsterdam champion, who does draw a Swamp for the turn. You see he does have a copy of Nightveil Spectre in his hand, another copy of Desecration Demon as well. Probably, as you mentioned, the best card in the matchup.
Yeah, I would be loath to cast this Nightveil Spectre into the Fire Dancer here because there's just so many cards, Skull Crack, Lightning Strike, where Ryan actually gets to hit Paul for some damage and kill the Nightveil Spectre incidentally. So I would be surprised if Paul deployed it here.
That being said, it might just be a situation where, you know, you're just like, okay, I need to just get that part of the game over with. But he does not deploy the Nightveil Spectre, just passes the turn back over to Lay.
Yeah, Paul's deck has so much removal in it that if he doesn't have a removal spell now, he'll have one later, and then he can kill the Fire Dancer and then start deploying his smaller creatures. But I think he's just not going to be running things that can realistically die to the Fire Dancer just yet.
See, as a result of not playing the Spectre, Lay is able to play a Chandra's Phoenix and get in for a couple points of damage. Rietzl did draw a copy of Pharikis Cure for the turn, but he's going to deploy the 6/6 Desecration Demon, which did win him the first game. Lay draws a copy of Ratchet Bomb for the turn.
Yeah, Ratchet Bomb likely to be brought in against cards like Pack Rat, but I don't think it's particularly well suited for this matchup. But given the pace of the game, actually may do some work against Desecration Demon.
You see, Lay's not going to sacrifice, but he will attack for 2 with the Phoenix. Rietzl says, that's fine, I'll go down to 17. Pharikis here providing a bit of a buffer here. There's another copy of Satyr Fire Dancer and passing the turn back over to Rietzl, who will untap. He'll take a draw. It's a copy of Doomblade.
Paul's showing a lot of respect for these Fire Dancers, which I like a lot. He's not willing to put his Desecration Demon in front of anything. He doesn't want to allow Ryan to get any value off of these 1/1s, so he's just playing a very conservative game right now.
And really using his life total as a resource. I mean, basically he started this game at 22, so he can afford to take a couple shots here from a Phoenix and things of that nature, make sure his Desecration Demon doesn't go anywhere, and, you know, balance his life total as he deems necessary.
Just really good pacing so far from Paul.
He's going to come in with the 6/6, so Lay is going to go down to 14.
I have to imagine Paul's going to want to start using some removal spells here before he starts deploying his other creatures.
And he does have a Doomblade and Pharikis Cure in his hand, so he could just take care of both of those Fire Dancers if he'd like to. And he is going to use Pharikis Cure to take care of 1 Fire Dancer, we think. And it will work, as Ryan does look at his hand of double Lightning Strike. And he also has a Shock hanging out.
And you can see almost the power of Fire Dancer really get going there. If Ryan had a 4th land that turn, he could have Lightning Struck Paul and killed the Desecration Demon for free.
So Lay does draw his card for the turn again. He does have a Ratchet Bomb and some other options here. He's going to start by attacking for 3. We'll see if Rietzl's going to make a move or not. Rietzl says, that's fine. I'm going to go down to 16. Now, actually, I'll take just 2 and use Doomblade on the Fire Dancer.
Yeah, Paul's hand has so many creatures in it that he really needs to get these Fire Dancers off the board before he can start casting his Pack Rats and Nightveil Specters.
So Phoenix will come across for 2. Rietzl's going to go down to 17. We'll see what the follow-up play is going to be. It's going to be a Ratchet Bomb. It's going to be a slow grind up for that Ratchet Bomb, as Lay's just going to have to pass the turn back.
Yeah, I do not feel like we're going to be able to place this game in such a way that that Ratchet Bomb getting to 4 happens. Although, it is noteworthy that with all the burn spells in his hand, Ryan can sacrifice Chandra's Phoenix and get it back to his hand and recast it to continue to pin down the Desecration Demon to buy time.
That's it. It looks like that's what his game plan is going to be, as Rietzl's going to play a copy of Pack Rat with the necessary 3 mana. He's also going to play a copy of Nightveil Spectre, not overvaluing his Pack Rat, passes the turn back. So Lay does have a Shock, which he could go upstairs and get the Phoenix back with. He's just going to shock the Pack Rat, tick up the Ratchet Bomb. I'm going to go up to 1. And that'll be it for Rietzl's turn. So Lay will untap those 3 lands and the bomb. He'll take a draw. He finds another copy of Magma Jet, but he's stuck on lands right now.
Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of Paul there not overvaluing the pack rat, especially against a deck with Searing Blood.
Yep.
You know, get it out there, and Paul's life total is high enough right now that if it got hit with Searing Blood, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But a 3-toughness creature is just so much more likely to survive, and if Ryan happens to have multiple Searing Bloods, you could get yourself into a lot of trouble trying to make pack rat tokens.
Yeah. So Ryan just has to pass the turn back, double Lightning Strike, double Magma Jet in his hand, but bottlenecked at 3 mana and a Ratchet Bomb that's taking him very slowly as Rietzl's going to attack very quickly here with a 7/7 and a 2/3. So we'll see 9 come across. Lay's going to go down to 5, and if Rietzl does have a copy of Gray Merchant, that could be lights out here. You see the Nightfell Spectre is going to reveal the 4th Satyr Fire Dancer. Rietzl taking a look at a Temple of Silence in his hand right now.
Yeah, Paul very thoughtful, gnawing away at his wrist right now.
Looks tasty.
And we're in a spot right now where Paul's just trying to figure out what are the things that can possibly beat me from here.
Yep.
What am I playing around? He's already seen some cards out of Ryan's deck that are a bit unorthodox, Oracle of Bones most notably, so I think he's just trying to make sure he doesn't do anything sloppy.
Closing windows.
Yeah.
Making sure nothing gets out of the house that he has built. Looks like this is going to be a pack rat. Just pass the turn back.
And Paul actually does have some roots in the Los Angeles area as well. He lived here for numerous years before recently moving to Arizona, basically because he could do his job remotely, but it's cheaper to live in Arizona. But born and raised in the Boston area, went to college at USC, and lived for numerous years in Los Angeles. So something of a homecoming.
See a Magma Jet's going to get cast here. It's going to go upstairs. Phoenix is going to come back to the grip. Time to scry. You see a mountain and a skull crack there.
Skullcrack can be good against mono black at times, especially against Gray Merchant, but we're past the point of that mattering.
Yes, we are long past that. The Ratchet Bomb going to go up to 2 as well here. Lay going to untap those 2 lands. He'll take a draw. Left the land on top. Can recast the Phoenix to be able to shut down the Desecration Demon. And then Ratchet Bomb can claim the Pack Rat. So it's not over. It's going to be tough, but it's not over.
Yeah, it's just hard for Ryan's deck to answer a Desecration Demon long term.
Yeah.
He has to use multiple spells, and once he is in the spot where he starts sacrificing creatures and growing the demon, it's almost impossible for him to kill it.
The tough thing here, too, and I know this is a card that you actually tried going towards that you would think would be good against Desecration Demon. It's a card like a Threaten or an Act of Treason, but it doesn't really ever work out the way that you want it to, it sounds like.
It's good at times. Definitely has moments if you're putting a lot of pressure on, they have to tap it on turn 4 for their demon. But I ran into a lot of spots where they would have just a mana left over and a Mutavault in play, and I had not enough mana to play an Act of Treason and also have a shock or something left over to kill the Mutavault. And so Act of Treason was just not as good against mono black and specifically Desecration Demon as I initially theory crafted that it would be.
So Paul gonna Bile Blight here. Lightning Strike, you see a bunch of cards being arranged here, but Paul Rietzl is going to win this match over Ryan Lay 2-0. Mono Black Devotion, the Boogeyman, off to a nice start.
Ryan Lay's deck is definitely trying to mix and match various parts. You have your Fire Dancer alongside some burn spells that can only go to the head. You have some creature removal. You have, Gutter Snipe, and that's a potential plan as well. And those kind of mix and match draws are really tough to execute against how efficient Mono Black Devotion is, and especially against cards like Thoughtseize and Duress.
Makes it pretty difficult, I do have to agree. You're kind of stumbling and fumbling around, but only 21 lands, in Ryan's deck as well, so you need to get to that flashpoint of 4 mana so you can do multiple things in one turn, and it took him too long to get there, and as a result, Paul Rietzl does win this match, moves on to 2-0 here in our 10-round tournament in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and